3, 2. Good evening, podcast world, and those out there on Facebook Live. Hey, we've been away for a little while, but we back.
Back.
Tell you, hey, Tanya.
Hey, how's everybody? Thank you for joining in with us on this evening.
Yeah. Time for another episode of Things My Mother Never Told Me. We got, as always, another special guest on here this evening.
And I'm excited.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun. She says she's nervous, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Look, I'm nervous.
Yeah. So Doc, I'm gonna call you Doc.
Me too.
We're gonna read your bio and then ask you some questions, and then we, like I told you earlier, we're gonna let you tell your story.
All right, everybody, get ready. Well, let's welcome Dr. Shondra L. Marshall. She's currently the program coordinator for the Diversity Research Network, DRN, at Michigan State University. Her interests in research, inclusion, and equitable leadership practices align with the DRN's mission. In 2019, Dr. Shonnie received her PhD at Eastern Michigan University, in educational studies with an urban education focus. While completing her doctoral studies, she became the recipient of the King Chavez Parks Fellowship for Future Faculty and Policy Makers. She also serves as the implementation policy and research manager at Hope Starts Here, Detroit's early childhood partnership. Dr. Shonnie has also worked as an educational consultant, offering professional development and trainings, and has taught as a college instructor and presented at professional conferences across this nation. Dr. Shonnie is also doing work around student voice and exploring how voice could inform school leaders how to work in collaboration with students and community members to make classroom level and institutional level change. She loves her family, good books, and working out. All right, sound like a winner to me. Let's welcome Dr. Shonnie L. Marshall.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for agreeing to be on here. So how you been doing?
Well, I'm good. I feel good.
Good.
How about y'all?
We feel mighty fine.
Oh, yeah.
We ain't even gonna lie to you on that.
Oh, yeah. That's how retirees do, though. They feel fine.
Right.
I love it.
Good. So look, we're gonna jump right in this thing and let you tell your story. Okay. So first, what high school did you go to?
So I am from Flint, Michigan, and I say Detroit on the weekend. Okay, so let's be clear about that. Which is true. Y'all know it's true.
That's right.
But I went to Carmen Azra High School in Flint.
Okay, cool. College?
Michigan State University for my bachelor's degree. So I am a true Spartan. I went there for my master's degree. I got my master's in teaching and curriculum, and I got a specialization in language and literacy instruction.
Okay.
And then I stayed in a green and white family and got my PhD, as you already read, from Eastern Michigan University.
Nice. And just because I can do this, we're gonna make you honorary cast technician today. Yeah, keep that green and white thing going.
That's right. And I probably would have went to cast if I was in the city. So that's right.
That's right. That's right. We're gonna tell it like it is.
That's right.
Right. So you had a focus on urban education, right? Mm-hmm. And so we're gonna bounce around a little bit. So what led you to the degree that you pursued, and then and so forth?
Yeah. So when I grew up, I grew up in a household with my two parents, and I had two older brothers. And in that household, it was taught from the beginning by our parents to work hard, be a worker, earn your keep, in a sense. Don't expect handouts, find a way, be intentional, be truthful, have integrity. I was also raised in the church, so I saw ministry work as well. Okay. And so I saw community service and community activism on a spiritual level with church. And then I also saw the natural side. My parents always kept us involved with volunteering and giving back to families and things like that. And so as a child, as a younger sister, I would get my brother's homework papers and they would be turning them into their teachers, but I would get them and I would mark them up and I would say A+, and so, or not. And then I would be in my room because I was the only girl, teaching my stuffed animals. And so I've always known that I wanted to be a teacher.
Okay.
But when I got to, so let me keep going. So when I got to high school, one of my first jobs was actually in one of the districts. It was the Carmen district elementary schools in the library. So I was in the library, I don't know what they do now, but I had to file the books, per the code and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they did that. So I really found a passion for reading and books and knowledge at that time. So from there, my second job in high school was to be, I was working with University of Michigan Flint, University of Michigan Flint Public Health, School of Public Health, and then with a community organization called FACE, and it was Faith, Access to Community and Economic Development. And with that, we were doing research on how tobacco use impacted the Black community.
Okay.
Then I started to see this research, and I'm like, well, I like this. This is really cool. And the public health differences between race and socioeconomic status, and then education. And I'm like, this all started to get really interesting. So I knew I wanted to go to college. And so when I was applying, it wasn't on a computer. We had to use a typewriter, all those kind of things, which students probably can't even imagine that. But we had to go to the counselor's office to get the applications. And they did not just give them to you. You had to actually request them.
Right. That's right.
So went in there, you had to listen to the announcements in the morning, got the applications and applied to about 12 schools, I would say. Had a binder. My mother was a very organized person, so she made me have a binder. I had files, and I had to present to her what I wanted to do, and she was just like in my ear coaching me. Nope, that looks sloppy. This, you have to do this in a professional way. And so at that time, I actually talked to one of my my high school best friends' mother, and both of our parents did not complete college. I think most of them went to school, but they did not complete. Right. But she told me, she said, when you go to school, you need to go into business because that's where the money is. So I heard that as a first generation college student. So when I went to Michigan State, my major was actually in business when I first got there.
Mine was too.
Yeah, it was in business, but then Yep. Those classes though, as I said before, I couldn't pass, I think it was econ, the second level of econ. And so then I started to think about, I really want to be in education. So I went to the counselor, told the counselor, I want to change my major. This was my sophomore or junior year. And she said, what do you want to do? I said, well, I want to work with higher education. I told her, I wanted to be on the higher ed side. And she was like, well, if you get your bachelor's degree in ed here, you'll be here for another 5 years. So I would have been an undergrad for about 8 years.
Oh, wow.
So she was like, just graduate with this, like a business cognate. And I got my degree in retail management, actually, because I love fashion too. And I learned how to, do the business side with the business cognate. Yeah. And also I'm gonna go back when I was in high school, I did something called Skill Center. And it was like a vocational training. Okay. And so I was in the business track. And so I learned how to, it was entrepreneurship, and I learned some of those things there from that program. So when I was in school, those classes kind of in college, that made more sense. It connected the dots for me. So then, I graduated with my bachelor's. Then I was like, I'm going to pursue my master's. And that's why I went right through to get my teaching degree and my master's in curriculum and instruction from the institution, because I really wanted to be in education and more on the administrative side of it. But I also enjoyed the teaching. And so I taught several courses of writing and English and reading at different institutions across the state. So I always knew from an early time that I wanted to have an impact on the community. I wanted to make sure that those who look like me and from urban cities like me, I have a special affinity to the city of Flint and Detroit. Right. And I just wanted to make sure that I was representing the culture in a sense. And so that's what took me down my path. But it's been a journey. But I really have really enjoyed the journey and learning. It doesn't mean that it's not tough or challenging or even sometimes isolating, but I know that I'm doing what I'm called to do.
All
so
right.
that's a long answer to say I don't want to be a teacher and to be an educator.
I was just saying, boy, that was in her DNA.
But right. But the thing about it is that you know what they always say, the devil's in the details. So if you just said that, we wouldn't understood how it developed, because it had to develop.
Oh yeah.
So that's good. And along the way, you joined a little sorority. It ain't in here, but I heard a rumor.
Yes, I am a part of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and I joined when I was in college at Michigan State, the Epsilon chapter, and I'm involved now with the Southwood Alumni chapter. So I've stayed involved, and it's almost been 15 years now.
All right.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah,
All right.
because you make the fourth
Maybe
Delta
4.
guest.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, but that's all right with me.
But you know what? We didn't know it, but they got on. I said, "What?"
Yeah, I did.
Now, isn't that something? How you just didn't know, but it all worked out.
Mm-hmm. He said he
I
knew.
knew she didn't know. I knew. Because everybody come
all
on
he
here.
want me to do is read.
No, it's just that I
look pretty on here.
Yeah, that part. But I know. I just happen to know the people. That's why. So I knew that they were. So now I saw here that you and I want you. The reason why I bring this up, I want you to put this out there for anybody that may be listening that needs to know. You were a recipient of the King Chavez Parks Fellowship.
Yeah.
For future faculty and policymakers.
Yeah.
Okay, what's that all about?
You know, it's a program. You know, so really in all the spaces that we're in, there's not a lot of Black people that's represented, you know, and there's a glass ceiling for everything. And so that particular program, I think, was developed to really be a pathway for faculty, not only Black, but faculty of color. That's why it's King Chavez Parks.
Right.
Okay.
But really to give a pathway to higher education. So one of the requirements, so you get the money while you're getting your either master's or doctorate, and then you are required after graduation to complete these service requirements. So you have like 2 or 3 years that you must commit to a higher educational space.
Okay.
So that could be through college instruction or through like administrative work. So kind of like what I'm doing now in the program coordinator position in that inclusion office at Michigan State is a part of that service.
Okay.
So it's just to make sure that there is representation in college and universities.
Right. And so and also because you benefit from it, you kind of pay it back.
That's right.
Yeah, or forward, however the case may be. Cool.
Right.
Cool. So now you see, she got my highlighted sheet. I gotta put my highlighted sheet. because you're working with a program this here start, what is it? Hope Start Here?
Hope
Starts Here. Yeah, so tell us about that.
Yep. So that's my I'll say that's my full-time job right now, and it's really dealing with the city of Detroit and early childhood. And so one of the things that people may not realize is that early childhood goes from gestation to 3rd grade, so 8 years old.
Okay.
And so when you think about how the pandemic has hit all of us and childcare as well as 1st and 2nd and 3rd grades, you know, how are we really investing in that? So Hope Starts Here is really like a strategic plan for the city of Detroit. And it deals with, you know, the health and wellness of children, family and parent engagement, the workforce and the development with that, facility management, the comprehensive data system, and then also funding. So basically all the systems in the city coming together to support children to make sure that they are thriving and their families. Cool. And so it's a huge undertaking. It's one of the first, I would say, in the city of Detroit to be a model for other places across the nation. And it's the root community work, because you know we are a small implementation office, but we work with the city of Detroit in every capacity in those areas that I named.
Oh wow!
And so my job as a policy and research manager is to really look at the policies that exist in the city, how that impacts early childhood. Also look at the research to substantiate what we're doing, or to challenge what we're doing, to make sure that those changes are happening. So there are times when I have to meet with legislators and I have to assist my director with certain things, to create a bill, to speak to coalition members, stakeholders. And so it's been a great learning experience for me to even be involved with that work.
Cool.
Wow, that is very interesting.
And so how did you get into this particular position?
So this position, I think one of the things that I wanted to always do was just have an impact in education on every level.
Mhm.
And so, you know, I did the work with early childhood, even before about 2012, I was doing work with early childhood in the city of Detroit.
Mhm.
Then I wanted to make sure I had K through 12 experience. And so I did volunteer in schools in the city of Flint. And then also I did some practicum work with City of Detroit Public Schools. To this day, I'm still working with some entities that serve the leaders of Detroit Public Schools. And then, of course, Michigan State is higher education. So for me, in order to understand education and the problems and barriers and challenges, you have to have a true systems understanding on every level.
Right.
Yeah.
So I love that I've had the opportunity to understand, because people think, and they'll say, oh, childcare is babysitting. And really, the most important part of children when they're growing is those early stages. That's when your brain is growing the most and when you're retaining the most. So if those years are not taken seriously, then that impacts the college student that I see. You know, so that's why I'm really trying to make sure I have the understanding, intrinsic understanding on each level, because you see these barriers and these challenges on every single level for especially Black children and Black students.
You already know.
Right. And
Because
so
I buy a child a book and, you know, one of these, and I say, make sure you read it.
Right.
He wants you to read it with him, and then he'll learn it, and then he'll be reading it to you.
Right. That's the parent we're talking to.
Yeah,
Make sure
the parent, yeah.
Right. Because yeah, when you know something you said is real impactful is that most people think that child care is babysitting. And that's the beginning of failure, because at all that time they could be learning something, or you know, even if it's just attitude or work habits. We teach them how to sleep and play.
Correct.
Yeah, so I like that.
Or how to dress. Yeah, I'm just saying the gym shoes, you know what I'm saying?
Right. No, right. That's funny, but it's right.
Anytime you in a pandemic buying gym shoes.
Right, and buying $100 gym shoes.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
I was like, really?
Yeah, but for kids that can't walk.
Yep. Look, and so I really do believe each experience has taught me so much.
Yeah.
But it's so personal, because Detroit is my family.
Right.
So to hear the statistics about what's happening in the city, or how children are or not getting what they need, just basic things, it's emotional work. You know, so every day you got to come in and put on the armor to be able to take, you know, to not get so bad, to be able to be a voice, but to be helpful, but also, you know, it's hard to face it, because these are my people, you know, that we're talking about.
That's right.
So, and our people, you know, but that's the emotional, the weight of the work that I do is real personal, and I had to figure out how to sustain myself, but also, you know, not give up on the fight, because that's what it is. It's truly the fight that we're in, and I think I don't see myself doing anything else. I've tried to sway, but I'm constantly pulled to this work.
That's
and
right.
Like I said, it looks different, and that's what I want people to always know, that, you know, I had a totally different path for myself. I did not think I would be here, as y'all know, now in this space, but you know, I just try to trust God in it.
Well, you know, he got a funny way of if we listen to him, slow down enough to listen to him, that he gonna kind of nudge us where we need to go, and a lot of times it ain't where we thought we was gonna be. But the good thing is that when we listen and go in his direction, we tend to do pretty good.
Oh yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. I agree.
So I just went brain dead.
Before that, but look, I'm gonna tell you about. I have a girlfriend, her grandbaby.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Now he's only 4. He's already speaking Spanish because he has a Spanish nanny. He already has 2 books out on stocks. You know, they got he's on Instagram, and he do these little commercial advertising his books. I'm telling you, he was speaking good at 3 and 4. Now he's up there. He's just phenomenal. and he's 4, but his parents have invested all this, you know what I'm saying? And we talk about
All these resources.
early childhood
Mhm,
education.
mhm.
Right.
You know what I'm
Education.
saying?
And education is not only, this is where I might get in trouble. So these are my words, but
Mhm.
education is not only the formal spaces, and that's what we have to understand.
Right,
So
right.
learning from your parents, learning
Yep.
from your nanny, learning from your family, that's all education, and that's important. So we
Mhm.
can't discredit that.
Right.
Mhm.
That's right.
And it also helps when you learn it from those spaces. When you get to the formalized education,
Yes.
it makes it so much easier
Mhm.
because now you got
Roadmap.
you got a foundation. Okay, so
That's
now
right.
here, this is what I want with 2 things. Is see your current research efforts focus on exploring racial socialization and parental influence of Black students' academic performance. Talk about that real quick.
So when you think about how people are raised, right? So in this world, I'll say in the state of Michigan, and we can say the country probably, this country was founded on white supremacy, and it was founded on morals and values that were not ours.
Right.
So us being Black people, being enslaved and being brought over here unwillfully, we came against our will.
Right.
That changed our educational system. That changed how we learn, what we value, and so the way that someone is raised, that's racial socialization, how they're trained and brought up. That's a parental influence on how people are raised. So I like to always bring in that as a powerful tool, because the way that I was raised with my Black family is not the wrong way. It was my way,
Right.
and sometimes people think, oh, you were raised wrong,
Right.
because you weren't raised like the majority, but that's not the case.
Right.
And so I would like to see how parents rear their children impacts their educational experience and basically how they perform in schools. And it's not necessarily to say that I really care about academic performance, because I have my thoughts about grades and tests and assessments. But I think it's important to have the research behind understanding how that family impact really does support and motivate children how they perform in schools.
Okay.
So I don't agree with the curriculum in schools today. I don't think, especially when you look at Black kids, why are we always falling behind? Well, the curriculum is not interesting to Black kids. It's not it's not really pulling up their culture. It's something else. But if you talk about Black culture and Black education and the Black experience, or other experiences, you may have a different outcome. So I struggle with the standardized testing, with assessments, with tests in school,
Right.
With things that are not applicable to cultural. And so my dissertation thinks that really hones in on cultural responsive pedagogy, which is basically teaching to the culture. So whoever that student is, understanding that you need to shift your teaching to make sure you address the culture. So that you can teach a math problem using, there was a math problem that was brought up in my dissertation that it said somebody was climbing a mountain this long, how many feet is this? And so the students were like, I don't know. But when the teacher changed it to say, okay, you got a bus stop and you got to walk 2 blocks up the street, how many, and they got it, so just kind of because they use the bus and they use the bus shelters, because of where they live. And so not always bringing in people's lived experiences as a way to celebrate them and not to say that it was wrong. So that's really what that's about, to understand that beautiful power of Blackness that needs to be in spaces everywhere and never shrinking from that.
That's right. It's funny you said that. I was watching this TV show I watch now. I can't even think of the name of it. It's a comedy show about a elementary school. And the teacher asked the kids, if I got 8 ducks or I got 10 ducks and you take 3 ducks away. Oh no, I take it away. I got 7 ducks and you add 3 ducks. How many ducks do I have now? And the little boy raised his hand and said, is any of the ducks pregnant? He said, what difference does that make? And then one of the other teachers explained to him, well, to them, it makes all the difference in the world, because if the duck is pregnant, then it's more than one duck that you're adding right there.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. So what you think is a crazy question. These kids want to know, they want some real facts. I mean, give me some real information about this question so I can give you a real answer.
And I know because some of
That's
these
right.
millennials are raising these children
Yeah.
now. They just like, they come out the woodworks with different.
Oh, okay.
dialogue.
Brandon put it. It's Abbott. The name is movie. This TV show is Abbott. You gotta
Okay,
watch. It's
okay,
funny. It's funny. But it was to the point you were making is it's like we don't realize, and education has been in trouble for a long time because of that. Because years ago, you know, back in the Stone Age when I was in elementary school, in high school, one of the things that we learned, what they found out is that the reason why kids don't learn is because people are too busy trying to put something in them as opposed to trying to pull something out of them.
right. Children, they come to the schools with knowledge. They
Right.
come with something. They're not blank vessels. They
Right.
are somebody. And so when you act like that and you try to make them like that, that's where we mess up. But then you think about who's teaching our children, So when you think about the teaching force, it is over 95% white.
Mhm.
So that's in this nation. And so we got to think about, how are you looking at our Black children? What do you think about them? Do you think, I walked up to somebody one time as a student, they jumped because they got so scared because I was coming up to them. And I'm like, I'm just coming to grab some tissue and go back to my desk,
Right.
But it was a substitute teacher. But I remember that and I was like, what did I do to scare you? But just my presence was a threat. And so we have to be mindful of that. And I must say that this is not only coming from white teachers. I think I see like a deficit view and really negative and dark comments and thoughts of even educators of color,
Yes.
even Black people,
Yes.
and that's because we have to shift that. And that's from white supremacy. So we have to shift how we see Blackness and how we see our students and how we see our people. So, because I remember somebody said to me, well, what about the real world? I'm mean to my students because when they get out there, they got to be able to take it. And it's like, so you're going to break this person down who is going through a hard time at home because you want to be ready for the real world. Right. Where is the love? Where is the joy? I think about how a scripture says that God is love. So how are you showing that?
Love.
By being mean? Just because, not because you're being, you're teaching a lesson, but literally you want to just be mean and yell because that's teaching it for the real world. Okay.
That's what he should always expect, huh? I'm like, really?
Right. And then that creates violence. And so that's, we have to think about what we're doing in these schools, and not only in these schools, but any space where we're serving youth, that's churches, that's in your household, that's with your family, And so I think about that because I was like, well, why is that okay? And I caught myself one time. I was watching one of my friend's child, and I think, I don't know what she did, but I said, who do you think you are? Right. And she was probably about 7. She was like, I said, you over here. She said, well, you're embarrassing me. And I said, well, because it was in front of people. And I said, girl, don't nobody care, and I would just, and then I thought about it. That's what was sometimes done to me, but it wasn't necessarily the best because it embarrassed me. It broke me down in front of people for no reason. Yeah. So I started to think about how easy it is. That was my check. Like, oh, it's just easy to do that.
Yeah.
Like real quick.
To ruin somebody's self-esteem. No?
Right. And especially if you learn it. If you learn it, that's why they say hurt people hurt people.
And I saw it and I was like, but I did it already and I had to apologize because I was like, wow, because I got it in me. I was like, ooh.
Oh, so just show up.
I'm not trying to condemn or to chastise people who have done it, because I think we all can. And I think it's just about being mindful and thinking about, well, why am I saying this, to this person? And in schools, why am I thinking about this person in this way? And I remember I had some students who, I was a long-term substitute for this 5th grade class when I lived in Lansing. And I remember, I apparently was subbing the worst class in the building. And so I was young, I was in my 20s, like right out of college. So, they were loud. There was no walls in the school and you couldn't quiet them down. So I was like, how am I gonna get them to quiet down? So then I figured out, well, let me have one of them rap, drop a beat, have one of them rap. And we did, how they have it. If you hear me clap your hands once, you hear me clap your hands twice. So we made a rap song out of that.
Okay.
And then everybody, we want to be in Miss Marshall class.
Yeah, that's
Like,
right. Be creative. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But it was to celebrate, you know, I'm like, well, who can rap? I can't, you know, but who can rap? And so they did. And one of my favorite, well, he's not my favorite student, but I called him all my favorite students. So one of my favorite students dropped the beat. And then, you know, that was the best class ever, to where they started sending me students that were misbehaving, because you got to weigh with them. Well, no, you just got to talk to them.
Yeah.
One teacher there was also like, this student keeps sleeping in my class. I'm about to kick him out. I'm like, well, let him come to my class. So I asked him, I said, well, why are you sleeping? You know, and he was a 5th grader. And he said, well, my mom goes to work at night. And so my little 2-year-old brother, I have to watch.
Wow. Yeah. And you know, and that's, you know, that's
Nobody gets the
right. The sad
background
part,
of
right?
this.
Nobody cares to find out why.
There you go.
And it's funny, you know, I got to bring, because we talking about kids, young folks in education. In this show, they had just one guy, they had brought a guy in to rap at this program. And so all the kids was jumping up, dancing with his little rap, except this one class. They were all just standing there looking all serious. They wouldn't clap or nothing. And it was the class of the guy I just told you about, who didn't understand when the kid asked him the question about, was they pregnant? And he kept looking at his kids, like, and they're looking at everybody else. And then it dawned on him, he wasn't having fun. And as soon as he started dancing and acting fun, his kids looked at him, and then they started having fun. And so the point is that a lot of times as adults, we don't realize the influence that we have on kids, positive or negative, by our actions, whether they are intentional or not. Yeah. And so
every time we come into a space, you know, and that's even, like I said, it's not only education. It's just when you are someone else that may be older to someone, in whatever way you want to frame that, you are impacting them. Yes. You know, I think about you two, you know, I just see joy when I see you two. That's what I see. So that's what you bring into my life. And so that's what I try to, that's encouraging to me, you know. And so every time you have somebody who's younger than you or whatever, think about what you're leaving with them. That legacy that you're implanting and leaving with them. And that's the community, that's real community work.
Right. Exactly. And that's why I like when you started out, when I asked you about how did you get where you are, you said that you trying to be intentional. And you know, that was my new word for last year, to be intentional. And everything that I do, to be intentional. And if we become intentional, we're not always, but we'll do the right thing most of the time, because we're making it our business to do the right thing. So
rapping is good too, because I remember Jason
rapping is fun.
His Easter speech. That's how I used to get him to.
Rapping is fun.
Right.
I don't know. Look, if you keep the lyrics relatively clean, who don't like rapping?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Exactly.
So when you said that, that's what it reminded me of.
Right. It is clever.
I got him to do his Easter speech.
Because I can't do it. So I know it takes some skill.
And brilliant. It's brilliant. I mean, people who can do it, like you said, to really tell that story in that way, succinctly, in like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
Brilliant. Don't even mention that 3 minutes.
So when you were doing your doctoral study, how was that?
You did the whole survey and everything else too, huh?
She just shake her head.
My doctoral studies was a true journey. You know, on some levels it was traumatic, I would say. It took me 7 years to get my degree.
Okay.
Most people have a 10-year limit that you have to, you know.
Okay.
That you have to obtain your PhD in when you start school. I had to go through multiple chair changes. So chairs are the ones, you know, who really drive your work. Coursework was fine, got that done in 2 years, but when you had to write the dissertation, it was extremely challenging.
Okay.
And I had a committee that believed in me and did promise me that I was going to get done, because I was looking like, what's happening here? But it was very challenging. I'm still healing from it, you know, even to this day I am, because it was so hard. I mean, people remember, I think probably my family will remember. I didn't know if I was born or coming, because it was just so intense. And so I now know how to support PhD students and candidates who are going through it, because I can see it and I know how it feels and I know how to support better. in that space. But it was a lot of reading, it was a lot of writing, but also here we are with the Black experience. So for me, writing to the level that they desired, it didn't mean that I wasn't smart. It just meant that I had to learn how to write to that level because that wasn't how I talked, and so Black vernacular is real. And so I had to learn how to make it different. And that was a learning curve for me, to be completely honest. But I had great supportive, my last year and even the ones before were very supportive, but it was definitely a challenge. I wouldn't say it wasn't. And the hardest thing that I've done so far.
Okay. Yeah. I understand where you're coming from with that. Not the doctoral part, but I did go back to. I recently went back to school. I told this story on here before, and I was talking to our marriage Sunday school class, and I was telling them that going back to school gave me the ability to take what I already know and tailor it to another audience.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's
a process.
Yeah.
It's a process. Yeah. To be able to communicate what I'm communicating here to every different level of audiences.
Right.
It's a learning curve, but it's good. You can find some good in it.
Oh yeah, it is. I mean, because usually you find out that, well, I already knew this and I already knew that, but I didn't know it that way.
Yeah.
Right.
You learn a lot of new words.
Learn a lot of new words. You learn, and that's one of the things, you had to defend. I had to defend it, so even like talking to you all, the training I had was from the defenses I had to have during my PhD, because it's like everything you say, you're getting questioned on. Everything, why, how, when, why, how, and that built me, that built a muscle in me. And so I don't regret it, but I do, I would not say it wasn't challenging, but I grew.
Yeah. Right. Well, if it hadn't been challenges, you probably wouldn't have grown.
Right. You gotta have them pains. You have to have them growing pains.
Gotta have them. So
just being a Black woman.
I'm looking at the clock right now, and I didn't warn you about this. My bad. You see that things my mother never told me. Yeah. We asked our guests that question. Is there something that you discovered on your journey? And I'm sure there is that you discovered on your journeys, wherever that your mother didn't prepare you for.
Let's see here. Well, really all of this, this level of work, like just, my mother didn't have the same position that I have now, right? So a lot of this, I would say politics, the political moving that you have to do really, and I've always said that I don't like politics. I don't like them.
Right.
And I've also kind of been afraid of them, just to be completely transparent. And because I felt like it wasn't truthful, I felt like it was inauthentic. I felt like it was just like true strategy and just to get what you want.
Right.
You just doing things to get things. But I heard something probably over the last couple of years where they said, you don't have to like politics, but politics impacts you. So either you learn how to navigate it, you learn it so that you can be able to maneuver to help others. So you can do it for self-serving purposes, but if you learn it, you can always flip it for the good. And so I would say just really learning how to navigate on a higher level, because I would say for me, even the things that I do is public. And so that comes with a lot of different weight. And so my mother has never, I don't think she's experienced, a social media attack or people sending messages to different people about you, or I don't think that she experienced that. So that understanding is, not personal. It's sometimes about the position. It's about certain things. And so I would say it's about navigating the political space and leadership.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's a new one.
That is a new
That's a new one.
Especially since it's in our DNA and that.
Yeah, we 60 some odd shows in. That's the first time we heard that one.
but I will say the prayer life that she taught me helped me to understand it, but it also put the right people in place to help kind of guide me through, you know,
Yeah.
Right.
because
God put you on that path.
And
he
you know,
don't-
and you know,
he
right.
don't help you. You're
And
right.
right, exactly. The thing is that
Mhm.
you know your answer, your setup of the answer is the reason why we asked the question. Is because our parents, most of us parents, the things that we would answer that question with are things that they didn't have an opportunity to experience. So then how could they totally prepare you for it? But they can give you background or ammunition that helps you better use what you find out to combat the problems that you may face.
Mhm.
Like you said, that all that mess that you just talked about, but that prayer.
Oh yeah.
So you know you got somewhere to go to help you
yes,
with it, to get through it. So
And,
yeah.
and that was way back in them white coat days too. The white
okay.
white sheep. Tell them, say I'm sorry.
Oops, see.
Oops.
Oops.
I know. I
Oops.
know.
Oops, that ain't on here.
I know. I know.
So
Yeah.
we done went through your stuff. What's a good book you like to read? You said you like reading good books.
I do, and right now I have read it once. I'm going to read it again. It's called The Speed of Trust.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of the author. I just read it, and I heard this on a podcast. And let me see who it's by. The Speed of Trust is by Stephen, I think, Covey or
Stephen Covey.
What's his name?
Stephen Covey.
Covey.
7 Habits.
Have you read that book?
No, but he wrote the book, The 7 Habits of Effective Leaders, and
Yes.
Mhm.
7 Habits of People, whatever, highly effective people, and blah blah. He got a lot of books, yeah.
And then Daring Greatly by Brene Brown has been one of my favorite books. So those are leadership books.
What was that second one?
Daring Greatly.
Daring
Brene,
Greatly.
B, like Renee, but with a B. Brene Brown.
Okay.
She does some good work on vulnerability and pride and all that. So
Okay.
Yeah, that's why we always stress to our children about reading. You know, my Jason was an avid reader, and my Jasmine was too, but she wrote more than she, read. But I'm just saying, both of them were avid readers, and I stressed that to the max.
Yeah.
And Jason, I would always find him as a baby, a kid. He take him out here in the bookstore. He's under the, even when you go to the clothing store, he go right to the bookshelf.
He go get
in the
a book.
grocery store. He
Right.
he get away from me and I find him. He over there reading them book in the grocery store.
powerful.
Right.
Hey,
Powerful.
what do you think about the surge of HBCUs?
In what way?
I don't know. It's just all this more enrollment. No.
I think it's so much power in HBCUs. I really do. I really do. I had one of my little nieces, my God-given nieces, went to an HBCU, and to see the experience different from mine, I can see a lot of power there. You know? And I think during this time too, even during the pandemic, it's probably one of the promising moves that somebody can make for their child.
Right.
Yeah.
Without a
And
doubt.
especially if you grow up in a space, like I think this particular person grew up in more of a white community. So I think really being kind of cultured in that is important.
Right. Because it does a body good to be around folks like you.
Absolutely.
Some people won't go to them because they say, well, we need to be more diversified. But I think one of the problems we've had as a community is that we're trying to be too diversified.
What's
They're
Matthew?
trying to assimilate.
Yep.
Yeah, Matthew, who's in diversity too at his school. He's at Western, right?
Who?
Matthew.
No, he's Central.
Central.
Yeah,
because he's
Central. One of our guests was on here, one of the young men from our church. He went to Central Michigan. Yes, and so he went through the process, and now he's actually diversity enrollment person there.
I mean, at Central, that's awesome.
Yeah. So right. So we've had some folks who we've had a lot of young folks who are fighting that battle, the diversity and inclusion and equity fight, and it's amazing. It's amazing, but I mean,
hey, it's needed.
It is needed because
it is needed.
I think that after the civil rights movement, my generation said everything all right, took a break, and then the ones came right behind us stayed on that break.
Yeah, they started experiencing. Yeah.
And so now your generation Y'all coming up and y'all fighting.
Y'all heard our cry.
Y'all fighting the battle. Right, y'all
Y'all
fighting.
heard our
Well,
cry.
well, you know what? I think they heard their own cry
that too.
because of that time that the period that we took a nap, it reared its ugly head again. Except they
You ain't
trying
never
to.
like that's a good way to put it. That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah, so that's how they,
So what you got coming up?
So I have been coming off of several boards that I'm on. I'm coming out of leadership right now. So I'm trying to figure out the next step in terms of my next move, because I think, so I wanted to rest, just to be completely honest. I wanted to take a break, breathe, rest, and enjoy life, you know. And then I had a conversation not even 2 nights ago where somebody said, okay,
it's over.
you know, yeah, you gotta, you coming down off of that, but you got something else to do.
Right.
Don't rest, you know, take care of yourself, get rest, but don't just, you know, fade to the background.
Right.
No, I know that's right. Don't be weary and doing good.
That's right.
That's
right.
the word.
Well, you know, yeah. So it's something. Well, you know, our story.
How about writing a book?
I retired because one of my main reasons for retiring was because it was in the way. Working was in the way. And so now we've been retired for her for 5 years, almost 5 years, me for almost 4. And we ain't had much downtime.
Pray for retirement for me.
Yeah, because what it does is well, I pray that you get to do all of what you want to do before you have to retire to do it. So they can pay you to do it.
That's right. Yes. And so I'm trying to be still, you know, I'm trying to consecrate, and consecration is separating yourself. So I've actually been off social media, Facebook in particular, just to kind of quiet the noise.
Me too.
You know, and hear, because you can get distracted, but it'll come, you know. So when I learn, you'll be the first to know what's next for me.
All right. Sounds good. Hey, nothing like get to a quiet place so you can think.
No, we need to reflect. You know what I'm saying?
Reflect and recharge.
Yes.
And be led, you know, because I have to get myself out the way too. That's the thing too. I need to. Yes. Surrender all.
Hey, and sometimes you just be lazy.
That's right.
Be lazy. I forgot the title of that book too. Somebody was reading. It's okay to be lazy.
Sometimes it is. As long as we don't go too long being lazy.
Yeah, I'm just saying it can be a hindrance.
Yeah, then it becomes a habit, right?
But like
resting and recharging. And there you go.
Yeah. Without a doubt. That avoids burnout. So, and we definitely don't want burnout to occur. So,
and that's a part of my other work is on wellness. And so I'm trying to bring in, you know, how wellness really impacts leaders, especially Black women leaders. And so I've been doing dibbling and dabbling in that work too, by making sure that us Black people take care. You know, we got this mentality, we gotta work so hard, we're gonna kill ourselves doing it and look horrible. But it's like, no, look good and take care of yourself. You know?
Right. Yeah. So that's right.
Don't feel guilty about taking a break.
Nah. But you know, as you reflect, and there's a book that I cannot think of the author's name of it. There's a book that I would recommend you read. It's called Overcoming the Dark Side of Leadership.
Okay, I'm writing that down.
Yeah, it's there are some very good points that the author makes in that book. I had to read it when I was in my minister's training. That was one of the books they had us read.
Okay, I'm taking your word for
it. Trust me. You're once you start reading it, you'll say you'll either love it or you'll hate it. and if you hate it, it's a reason why.
So I have to figure out that part and get underneath that. I got you.
Right, because it sometimes, you know, you will read something and you'll see it and you'll say, oh, so that's why that happened. And it's usually not about you, it's about somebody else. But the idea is to keep it from happening to you. So yeah, it's
well, that's why I'm reading the Speed of Trust again, because I need to
Right.
Now, wait a minute, like you said, let me just hear this one more time. Let me read this one more time so I can really get the lesson out of it. So
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
that's the challenge. The reality is the challenge.
Yeah. Because the second read is always for you.
Mhm.
First time is for the author.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, but this guy's name is Gary McIntosh.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, when you get a chance, and thumb through that, and you'll see some interesting points in there. So, Tim, you got anything else for Shonnie?
No, I was just awed by her. You know what I'm saying? I'm just awed by her, especially the early childhood education thing. That is so important.
It is.
And like I said, when I'm thinking about my childhood and I'm looking at this way this couple of millennials are raising their son, to wealth, to be, mentally challenged. I mean, even he's even cooking. They got him cooking, healthy foods. He's standing up on a chair. Yes, and he's standing up on a chair and he had to call his grandma and say, "Hey, Ma, could you bring me some M&Ms because my daddy won't buy me none."
That's powerful right there. So
it is powerful, and I'm just
Yeah.
saying it. So it's like, wow.
Right. Without a doubt.
Ain't no telling where I'd be if they'd have started me out like that.
Well, that's what I was.
But I am where we are because
Right.
the Lord, He provided this space.
But that's what I was sitting there thinking. It's a lot of things, generation to generation, how we go about doing things changes, and there are some stories that aren't for the better, but for the most part, for the better. We at least maneuver a few people in the right direction.
But even back in slavery though, but look at the ones that got out of that and became millionaires or passed it on to their children that became this, or you was a teacher and you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I was like, well, dang, if they can do that, the little bit that we had, they really had less than we had, and they still reigned.
And I just want to say, like, even with that, even through this whole conversation, the main thing that I would love for people to take away is that it's a mindset. We are battling in our mind, and so when we're helping, when people have bad days, it's because life happens, but life is always happening. So you have to choose where you want to be that day.
Yeah.
And so you have to keep feeding your mind positive things, so that in that space with this whole journey, why it's hard is because I have to pick and choose when I can deal with certain people.
Right.
Yeah.
When I can be involved, because I can't get distracted and have that type of negativity in my life at certain points, and sometimes I'm strong enough to deal with it and it impact me. But when I'm weak, and I know that, but it's a mindset and it's a battleground every day.
Right. Every day.
And so you have to renew your mind. I'm like, renew my mind, Lord, and created me the right spirit, because that's where it is. So I say that every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah, that's without a doubt. I'm glad you said that. That was one of the things I was about to ask you. What did you want to leave us with a thought? Because going back to intentional, we got to make when we leave the house every day, we got to make sure that make it our business to come home better. At worst, like we left. That's the worst case scenario. The best case scenariyo is better than we left.
That's right.
And we can't let outside influences make us worse.
No, I get up saying, after I say thank you, I'm getting up saying, okay, I choose to have a good day today. I'm a bold good today.
Yes, and you do. Yes, and there's power in that. There's power in thinking it and power in saying it. And that's what we have to do. And it doesn't mean if you don't get tired, doesn't mean you don't get frustrated, doesn't mean you don't have bad days. But, overall, I strive my hardest to find joy and peace in everything. But it does take that fight in the mind.
It does. You're right. Because I remember when my daughter was playing basketball. I mean, she just wrote on her hand, I will lead my team to this. I will, I will do an assist or something like that. And she'd look at it and she keeps saying it, and then she'd have a good game. Yeah.
That's how most leaders make it.
Yeah.
Your daughter is a leader and was a leader in that. And that's the thing.
Yeah, that was good affirmation. So, you just feed into yourself, feed into your own spirit.
So you left us with that mindset thing. Anything else you want to say before we go?
You were excellent.
Thank you all for this, and I hope I did what you wanted me to, and I thank you
more.
for the invitation.
You did what we wanted you to do and more.
And more.
And
Believe
more.
me, like you said, you're gonna inspire someone. I'm telling you, because I'm just
Right. Well, you know, right. The beauty of it is that the people we have on here, like yourself, is that when I invite you, I have an idea, but I don't know where we're going.
Mhm.
I really don't. And you know, so then when I get your bio, I see some things that interest me, but I still don't know where we're going. And so you took us on a good journey, and you had some good nuggets for folks. Hope they take it to heart, because at the end of the day, be intentional, and that's all goes back to mindset. And if in a weak mind to fall for anything, but a strong mind to make it through anything. We appreciate you being on here,
Are you
cuz.
trying to preach now?
Thank you. I know. I'm like, hey, now wait a
I
minute.
know, wait a minute. What else? What else?
But I thank you all again.
Yeah, tell the folks we said hey.
Oh, I definitely will. I definitely will. Thank you all.
Oh, and real before you go, anybody, because this is gonna be on YouTube too.
Okay.
So every other avenue of Facebook will be the video, YouTube will be the video, everything else will be just the audio. So anybody who's looking, you see that young lady sitting back there in the red. That's her and her mother.
Yeah. Ooh, don't they look
That's
like
her and
some
her mother.
celebrities?
Yes, I love
Look.
my
Right, watch this.
No.
Watch this. Nah.
All right.
Love you,
Shonnie.
cuz. Take care.
Okay, love you. Mwah.
Virtual hug. Have a good evening, sweetie.
All right. You too.
Bye-bye.
I'm leaving now.
All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.